Here we are again, drawing hoofed animals. So I want to give another plug for How to Draw Animals by Jack Ham. Again, the writing is a little bit harder for 3rd or 4th grade, but the illustrations are excellent. And I think he does a great job of simplifying the animal. So this is our animal drawing order. We do the body, then the head, neck, and ears, hips and shoulders, legs, feet, hooves, and then we add those details. So we have a couple of hoofed animals here that we're going to look at for inspiration. But we're going to talk a little bit about how all animals have a basic oval body. Not, we always add adjustments. Then we've got our hips, our shoulders, our back legs, our front legs, which have different little angles, our head, neck, ears. All right, then we can apply them. You can see here. Until we get it. Now, of course, when you get to your final drawing, you're not going to add in those. You're going to go over the lines that you want to keep and then just kind of cover over the other lines with fur or erase them. So we can talk about the different body basics here. I always find this interesting. So we've got tigers and giraffe, cow, squirrel, rhino, jackal, monkey. This is actually a monkey standing on 4 feet. And then we've got a wild boar. So we can see the different animals, but we've still got that heart shape, which is the hips. Even if it's a little bit more subtle with some, a little bit more direct with others, but we've still got this hindquarter muscles here and the front leg muscles. And it really depends on the animals, what they eat and how they use their limbs. So again, we're going to go with our different shapes first. So the 2 animals that we're using for hoofed animals today are the bison, got right here, and our mountain goat. Find a little bit of clearer full body picture here. Oh, excellent. Heather has put some amazing pictures in this packet. Good job, Heather. Okay, so we see our ovals with some additions, okay? All right, so we're going to start with our basic oval. Right, we're going to make sure it's as big as our hand. We want a big drawing so that we can see all the details. We're just going to do an oval right here. Okay. We're going to, of course, make changes because every animal is different. Now, when we're looking at these animals, we want to figure out how many heads fit in that body so we can figure out how big the head is because we're starting with the body today. So if we don't count the snout, this one's kind of hard, so it's kind of small. So 1, 2, 3, 4, probably 5 heads there without the snout, without the muzzle. So we're going to divide this in half. Actually, we're going to divide 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so we can see that the head is about, I'm going to draw a little bit darker than I ask you guys to so that you can see it on the camera. But I always ask you to draw really lightly, but you can see my marks here. 1, 2, 3. So I'm just dividing that animal up. So you can see about the head is about that big. Okay, now with the bison, this is hard, but if any other gazelle or anything, of course we're going to change this. It doesn't look like a hot dog. I mean, you can see that their heads are basically aligned on both of these guys. It's not like a giraffe or an elephant where the head is way up high. And of course the bison has this giant hump, which is really cool. So we're going to add a little head here, about this big. Right? We're going to draw it in. Okay. And we'll always adjust there. So a lot of them, with these animals, they don't have that muscular of a neck. It doesn't, fill out this far. So we're going to come up, and then they do have this hump. Now, of course, the bison hump is really big, and the goat hump is a little bit smaller, coming back around. So now we've got the head and the neck and the body. We're going to go ahead and add in our, right at about 1/3, we're going to add in our heart-shaped muscles here. And about 1/3, we're going to add our hips, right? 1, 2, 3. A little bit back, okay? This is going to direct us, because they have these big shoulders here, about where to put the legs. Now, as opposed to other animals, these legs are a little bit thinner. They're not really standing up on them a lot. They're not using them to dig, so they're a little bit thinner. We've got our hooves here. Okay, we're going to come around. You can see right here in our guy, we've got this muscle here. So we're going to add that muscle there. We're going to go back. These actually show on some of these animals. And we've got our belly that comes up a little bit in the back often, and then our leg coming down from this hip that we drew. And we've got our knees in the back, of course, and our little ankles in the back. And come up and join this nice hindquarters because they run and jump and gallop. Okay, not a lot of tail on these animals. I mean, a deer, of course, will have a taller tail. The deer, of course, will be a lot thinner than these two animals that we're using for an example. So now we're going to add. So we might want to, I did the head this way, but oftentimes with these animals, the cow and such, the head will go a little bit more vertical. So instead of horizontal, we'll go a little bit more vertical. We've got our thing here. We're going to add our ears, which often stick up, but not always. I mean, if we look at this ear, it's about 2 of them can fit in the head without the muzzle. And come down and add a muzzle. Muzzles, of course, different sizes depending on the animal. You can always adjust, make them thinner, add a little nose, right? We'll go up with our ear, and then the horns stick up even farther than that. Okay. Again, we're going to keep the lines that we want. We're just going to keep drawing and adding, and then the back goes a little bit down, a little bit way back until we come back here. Okay. Now, if we're going to, now we've got our legs not on the same plane. I can see that, so I'm going to draw my line and make sure, because these front 2 legs are, of course, on the same plane because they're standing still. Now, you can do the back leg. It goes a little bit higher usually. Right? Starts a little bit higher, stops a little bit earlier. Right? And there is your back leg. You can also do it in the front. That would be fine too. And again, each animal's different. Some of them have this little ankle bone, right? You want to add, come down. They've got very kind of delicate ankles for what they do. Also, the back starts a little bit higher, right? Because here's our line we're going to keep. A little bit, stops a little bit lower. Okay, so we're now at our back tails. And then sometimes they have a little tail. You might want to bring this in a little bit. Every animal is different. So in the end, I'm going to add a little eyes. So let me see. So we've done head, neck, ears, hips, shoulders, legs, feet, hooves. Now we're going to add some fur and details. We need to do a little bit of face. So it almost, with these animals, their eyes are a little bit higher than ours, right? Ours are a little bit halfway in the face. Got a little nose on here. Make a little mouth open if you want to. Right? But they still align with the ears a little bit. Okay, it really depends on the animal. Different size ears, different shape face. But you'll figure it out because you always just add adjustments there, don't you? So in the end, we are going to go back over our drawing and go over the lines we want to keep. So I'm going to look at this drawing right here. I'm just going to take him as my example. And I'm going to make his head a little flatter, because it is a little bit flatter. This particular animal. Still going to have his nice shoulder muscles. You can make those bigger. And you can always cover over anything with fur. Fur. There's a lot of forgiveness. Right? You have his little mouth open here. Got his nose. He's got kind of a big snout. Go back up and around his head. And then actually this guy you can only see one eye, so I'm going to do one eye. Okay. Got our horns. Got our ear, which you said the front side, back side, shade in the back side. Now that other ear's behind, so you're not going to put it in front. This ear can come down in front, this ear can go behind. Still has a front side and a back side. And the other horn is always on the front. Okay. Now we're going to come down and make this strong neck. I'm going to shorten this a little bit. Okay, go up. We got a little ankle bone there. And his legs are kind of fat when it goes up. This is where you make your adjustments. And you may want to put a little line here. Just light, a little bit lighter. Got his belly. This is a big guy. I think I may want to shorten him a little bit. So I'm just going to trace around the outside. Make them not as big as I made them there. Do his little ankle bone here. Back up around his hindquarters there. All right, now we've got our guy. He's a little fatter than I may like, but I can always cover that over with fur. And we'll talk about that a little bit with details. He's got very short fur. The buffalo has very thick fur. So if I were making this into a buffalo, of course, his head would be much wider. Yeah, much wider. Horns out here. And then this giant hump on his back. But he still has this typical cow belly here. Okay. It's okay to show your lines. It's okay to show you your process and all this. It's really important. So if I were going to add fur, I'd probably start from the back so that I can overlap more easily. This guy's got very, very short fur. Right? You can go and overlap them again. Again, I'm drawing a little bit darker than I would tell you guys to do. I always ask you to draw light, but today I'm asking you to draw dark because I am trying to make it so that it shows up on the camera. Okay, and you can always add in shading right there, right? You can always adjust. Go back over it with color. This probably needs to go in a little bit farther here if I think about it. Draw a couple of times before you're satisfied. So here we are with our hooved animals. This works for a deer. Of course, a deer would be a lot longer and thinner. You can always make adjustments. It's never the same animal. But generally, we start with these shapes and we end up with our animal. Thank you.